In Lesson 8, we'll focus on the social features of the StreamCat application. We'll start off in this lesson by learning how the application adds live chat to a user's channel page to facilitate interaction between stream participants. If you recall from earlier lessons, when a user registers for a new account, the StreamCat application creates a dedicated Amazon IVS channel, chat room, and stage for real-time streams. The chat room information is persisted in a chat room entity. Also note the chat message entity, which contains a record of every message posted to a chat room during a stream. Because chat is a piece of functionality that is reused in multiple places in StreamCat, it's bundled into a reusable component. The HTML markup for this component contains a container that will render the chat messages as they are posted and an input that is used to post new chat messages. In this component, we're passing the chat ARN, chat endpoint, and the broadcast type, real-time or low latency, to Alpine.js in the chat model. The init function of the chat component gets a chat participant token and sets data from that token into scope. It then initializes a WebSocket connection to the chat endpoint and calls init chat. The getChatToken function makes a request to the /API/chat/token endpoint. The endpoint generates a chat token via the chat room service with the current user's ID and username, or a new UUID and random name for anonymous users. The createChatToken method of the chat room service uses the AWS SDK for JavaScript to issue a createChatToken command, which returns the chat token. By default, all users are granted the send message capability. Admin users are granted additional capabilities to handle disconnecting users and deleting messages. After the token is obtained and the connection is established, the init chat function adds an onOpen and onMessage handler to the connection. When new messages are received, they are pushed to the messages array, which updates the chat view to render the new message and scrolls the container to display the new message. The send message function calls send on the chat connection, passing it an object with an action of send message and a content key with the sanitized chat message to prevent HTML injection. The utils.stripHTML static method uses the DOM parser to return only the text content from the message. In order to provide chat logs and replay chat messages during VOD playback, StreamCat archives all of the chat messages from a live stream into the database. If you remember from the architectural overview in Lesson 1.4, we created an IVS chat logging configuration which logs all chat messages, or events, to CloudWatch. To make it easier to retrieve these messages, StreamCat copies the chat messages from the CloudWatch logs into its own database after a live stream has concluded. This work is done in the AWS Lambda function that is triggered by the Amazon IVS events via EventBridge. When a stream end event is received, we retrieve the stream from the database and the chat room. The chat logs in CloudWatch are stored in a log that uses a standard naming convention that includes the last part, or the ID, of the ARN from the chat room. We can use this chat log name variable and the stream started at and stream ended at timestamps to retrieve the chat messages that were posted to the user's chat room during a given live stream. The getChatMessages function uses the CloudWatch SDK to retrieve the chat messages or events. Note, the CloudWatch SDK's filter log events command returns up to 1 megabyte or up to 10,000 log events. So if your chat log is larger, you'll have to implement pagination. Since CloudWatch stores all chat events, the filter log events command output returned via the SDK will not be quite ready to persist to the database. There could be moderation events, for example. To get a proper log of events, we parse the event array and remove any deleted messages. Finally, the parsed events are inserted into the database. In this lesson, we learned how the StreamCat application implements live chat for a user's live stream channel. We also saw how logged chat messages are retrieved from CloudWatch and stored in the application's database for retrieval and display during VOD playback. In a future lesson, we'll look at how VOD playback handles showing chat messages at the proper time in the video. In the next lesson, we'll look at how StreamCat allows streamers to invite a chat user to join their live stream.